Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Mr. Jeffrey Stanton Kellam, but you can call me Jeff. Aunt Marge called me Butch. Don't call me Butch. Welcome to this week's edition of Encounter. I serve as the Parish Associate at the Union Presbyterian Church in Endicott. It's Labor Day weekend, I'm told, and so we'll be talking about a different kind of labor, the kind of labor that builds houses in our community, in fact, all around the world. Our guest today is the new Executive Director of Broome County Council's, the Broome County Habitat for Humanity affiliate, also serving Tioga County. It's Mari Giurastante. Welcome to Encounter.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're new. How long have you been the Executive Director?
It has been just shy of 6 months.
Okay, so just still getting to know, you're not getting to know the community because you've been born and raised in Broome County.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. I grew up in Shenango Bridge, and I went to Shenango Valley High School. I went to college in Endicott at Cornell University, and then I came home, and I've been working in our community ever since, all across Broome County. So I'm very excited to be on board.
I remember you're saying that your major at Cornell was interior design, was it?
Oh, I studied quite a bit. I did a dual degree program in anthropology. I really enjoy different cultures, and I also studied urban planning. They have a pretty great program there, and I got involved in the local community in Ithaca in the public art scene, and that's kind of how I found my way into community development.
Right.
So
what was it? What did you know about Habitat for Humanity before you applied for the job?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't think I knew as much as I thought I did. I did understand that it was an affordable housing corporation, or nonprofit effort. But I really, my interest came from what I always did on the side of my primary day job, which was remodeling homes in Port Dickinson. So, I've always loved our community. I've always really loved helping people. I feel that a sense of purpose and engaging in my community and helping revitalize this beautiful area that is going through a tremendous amount of change. And I also love to build and love to see a finished product. So
I guess it was your comment about remodeling homes that led me to think that you had done interior design work. But that interest and your interest in kind of rebuilding the community is something that Habitat for Humanity has been involved with, not only locally, of course. I mean, it's a national organization, Christian principles, serving around the world. Full disclosure, I worked on the board of Tioga County Habitat for Humanity before it was merged into Broome County, and before that I worked in Vermont with Habitat for Humanity. So I've loved the work. I'm not a construction person. I'm not a hammer and nails guy or a roofer. I did mostly PR and speaking and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So welcome.
Thank you.
Amy Winans was the former executive director and died very young and very suddenly, and was a very difficult thing for the community to deal with, and certainly yes, the volunteers. But looking ahead to your work, what are the challenges? Let's start there with the challenges of Habitat for Humanity.
So I think you see the challenges that I'm experiencing across all sectors and all professions. Right now we are undergoing some generational transition. We are trying to look forward in terms of creating a robust and practical strategic plan for the organization. We are currently trying to recruit more construction volunteers in anticipation that, as time goes on, we might have new people that will be trained in years' time, learning how to build a house from the ground up and all the steps involved in the budgeting and the contractors that we do use. it takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. We have typical challenges, like I said, of most workplaces in making sure that we are remotely accessible, that we are able to hold hybrid Zoom meetings if possible. So our board meetings are now coming back to being in person, but we also would like to be able to have the capability to get people in remotely if need be, for health reasons, if people are traveling, just to make us, update us into the 21st kind of technology front that we have going on right now.
Sure.
So.
I've been to some of the been at the headquarters in Endicott.
Yes.
And I think that there is, let's see, what street is it on?
Adams Avenue.
Adams Avenue. So there's the kind of headquarters building, which looks like a normal house.
Yes.
And then there's kind of a warehouse attached to that with some tools and building stuff. And the house next door is also under renovation.
Yes.
And what's that going to be used for?
We actually just completed it. So a little story, a background about our current office space, 103 Adams Avenue. There was a house on site prior to our building, and unfortunately there was actually a fire. So when Amy purchased the land, we built, just like every other house that we have, we built brand new. So there's office space downstairs and the warehouse in the back. And we were fortunate enough to acquire 101 Adams Avenue during a foreclosure. And from my understanding, it took quite a bit of time, but we got it, and we did not build that one from scratch. We renovated it, and it is just now completed. And we have boardroom space and a community space down on the first floor, where we hope to, we are holding our board meetings, but we also hope to have maybe Metro Interfaith or other affordable housing efforts come in and host meetings to help kind of increase our program capabilities. But we also have offices upstairs. So New York State Habitat for Humanity is using those offices. They moved from Washington Ave into our building next door, so we've got a really great partnership with them. They help us a lot with grants and with strategic planning, and really just with the tools and expertise that comes along with the policies and the guidance to make sure that we're doing things appropriately, and we feel very lucky to have them next door.
There are lots of layers to the work of Habitat for Humanity, but let's start with the groundwork and the purpose of the whole organization. It's to build safe, affordable, energy efficient, comfortable homes for people who ordinarily wouldn't be able to afford them. And I think one of the misconceptions is that you don't give them away.
Yes, that is a very common misconception. And I think, along with some of our work that we've been doing with New York State is reassessing our marketing and our communications. We received a grant to increase capacity over the course of 3 years. And we just did a website audit, and we are going to make sure that we revamp our message to make sure that people understand what exactly it is that we do.
So there's a need in the community. Everyone knows there's a need for housing, and there are families who are living in substandard housing.
Yes.
They can't afford a regular mortgage, and so Habitat for Humanity will always be looking, I guess, for potential residents for the homes. What starts first? Do you build the home first, then look for residents? Do you look for residents and then build a home? How does that work?
Well, Jeff, that's an interesting question. So as you previously mentioned, unfortunately, Amy passed, and there was a period of time between that event happening, and me being hired. So now we currently have 2 houses that were finished in that period of time, that 6-month window, that we are reviewing family applications for. So typically we'd like to review applications in the process of doing the build. We do have a program requirement where the potential homeowner should have a willingness to partner with Habitat and contribute about 400 hours to our sweat equity requirement. So we normally would like to find a family while we're building so that they can be a part of it. Right. But right now we have, like I said, 2 homes that we are selling retroactively, and we will find other creative ways to have them partner with us. But it's a chicken or the egg kind of a question.
The sweat equity is interesting because it means that they have an investment of time and talent in their own home.
Yes.
If it works in that direction, that the home is starting to go up, you've chosen the family, and now they get a chance to participate. Some of the folks that I've seen have painted, or they've worked in the office dressing envelopes, or there's some job that they can do to put in those hours so that they have an investment in the home as well. The Family Selection Committee, let's talk about how that works, because that's a group of folks who will interview potential candidates to buy the homes.
Yes. So currently we have 4 people on the Family Selection Committee. We meet monthly, regularly, and we just hired a wonderful new staff member, Michelle Clark, who has worked in mortgage lending and first-time homebuyer programs for quite some time, and she's helping me run that committee. We are also partnering with local banks to help identify people who are maybe mortgage ready, who might be within our income bracket, the bracket by which we can qualify people for our program. So there's a triage of efforts going on right now. The Family Selection Committee in particular, once we've identified a good pool of applicants and we've run through, the selection criteria, we will bring them to the Family Selection Committee to just get to know the people that we work with and, allow the committee to get to know these applicants, to ask them questions about budgeting, maybe life experience, current living conditions. Work history is important because, as we mentioned, unfortunately, we're not in a place to give the homes away, but they are, people must go through, a standard mortgage qualification process. So work history is something that is considered. And once we have, a grade, we look at the scale that we have between willingness to partner, current living conditions, and work history. Once we have a good understanding of who is the best fit for our program, we proceed with a contract and the sweat equity requirements, and we help that family through the process.
Right. And the goal is to provide that new home or a rehabbed home, and we could talk a little bit about that in a moment too, but at a price that they can afford.
Yes.
And there is a restriction that they can't simply buy the Habitat home and then a year later sell it at some higher profit.
Yes.
They're kind of locked in and
for 10 years.
For 10 years, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have a calculator that helps us determine what the mortgage will be based on their income and based on the appraised value of the house. And that number should not equal any more than what 30% of their income would be monthly, so we know that they can afford the mortgage. And then after we've appraised the value of the house, the remaining balance beyond what that mortgage is that we give to the family, that additional value goes to the county as a note.
Right.
So it goes on the books that it's sold as market value, but it's the family that we select takes on the part of the mortgage that they can afford.
Yeah.
So we do that for a few reasons. The most important, as you mentioned, is so that we don't get families that come in and then resell the house and to make a profit off of it, so that we really accomplish the mission in getting families that are in need, that maybe might be of the working poor and can't afford. They have a stable home for their kids and for themselves. And there's a level of continuity there with that expectation.
I remember one family that we built a house for in Tioga. They had been living in a trailer, a mobile home that was just added on to, and they built a new home that was a little bit closer to the road, but they said they're close to the road, but the home was so much sturdier and insulated that not only was it energy efficient, but it was even quieter. They noticed that even that much closer to the house or to the road. So they had gone from that substandard home into a new home, and I'm just fascinated by watching the kids play outside and the feeling of stability that family now had.
Yes.
So that to me is kind of the end result of all the work that goes into it. There's a family, and we ought to also mention, I mentioned Christian principles. Millard Fuller started this after a visit to a place called Koinonia Farms in Georgia back in the 50s, I think. Mm-hmm. It was working on Christian principles, but you do not discriminate when it comes to people looking for the home. They don't have to have a creed. They don't have to be Christian. They're just folks who are looking for a safe, affordable place to live.
Yeah, so a family's particular religion does not it's not taken into account. We are faith-based, and my faith is what drives me, but that is not a limitation that we put on the families that we help.
Right. Our guest today, if you haven't guessed already, is Mari Giurastante. She is the new executive director of Broome County Habitat for Humanity, also serving Tioga County as well. Let's talk a little bit about where the funding comes from. And before we do that, we should point to a website, broomehabitat.org.
Yes.
broomehabitat.org, and there you will find ways to volunteer. You'll find information about Habitat for Humanity. It will drive you perhaps even to some links that will take you to the international habitat work, because that's there's a tithe issue as well, as right, because some of the money raised locally goes to international ministry.
Yes, a few $1,000s a year goes towards the international ministry. I believe there are, substantial efforts, and I've looked a bit, not too much, I'll have to admit. Yeah. The Dominican Republic, there's a big presence. I believe Haiti as well, so the island areas, there's a big presence.
And the money that's raised here, of course, buys a lot more home in Africa or in Central America or in South America or other some of the island republics.
Yes.
So the habitat work there is just, and they can build year round. We're a little bit shorter season.
We are limited. We're limited to the indoor work during the winter.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just have so many questions. BOCES. Let's talk about BOCES and the relationship there.
Yes.
Because I just read about a grant where they're going to have a pad at the BOCES campus where they can build habitat homes. I mean, that's part of their mission too. Yes.
So I believe this is the third year that we will be partnering with them to build an affordable home. The trade students come in with supervision, and with the help of some of our guys, we'll build right on site while they're learning electric and plumbing and carpentry up there, and we'll purchase it for a certain price that we've contracted prior to the build, and then we resell the home. So it's a great partnership, and we are actually doing another house with them this fall. So we are working on in the town of Binghamton, just past the south side now, and in the fall we will begin our second home with them for this year.
Wonderful.
Third if you count our office space.
Right,
so we are picking up steam, and yes, we were so excited for them to have gotten that grant funding. I think it was $1.3 million. Donna Lopardo, our assemblywoman, helped get that funding for them. And it will go to, I think, create a new pad, or maybe reinforce the one they currently have, so that we can make sure our program continues.
So there's so many layers of volunteerism too. If folks who are watching or listening have some building skills they'd like to contribute. I know some churches are involved in building habitat homes, and besides the actual building skills or construction skills, there are some churches that make snacks or provide a meal.
Yes.
So you've got the churches, you've got volunteers who are going to help build, and again, the website will help get those volunteers on board.
Yes.
And you have a board also. That's, if I'm I'm guessing right, every nonprofit board can always use folks to meet and help make decisions.
That is something that we are working towards right now, is increasing our capacity in terms of our volunteer network. People that would like to volunteer that maybe have marketing skills or advertising skills, or just are maybe extroverted and like being out in the community. We are always looking for people to join our fundraising committee. Out of all of the board committees, that is the one where we are most actively seeking help, and we are also the most open to having a larger volume of people on that committee. It is no small feat to put together our annual gala, which is October 20th, again this year. And we have various other partnerships that maybe restaurants would like to do with us, or maybe we have events that we need to table at that we would like some help, hands-on help, where we could get volunteers involved. We do also have the church committee that we are building right now. We don't currently meet. We don't actually currently have that committee, but it is written into our bylaws, and it is something that's important to me as a new director to prioritize. Since we are faith-based, and
sure.
I think there are an incredible amount of churches that would like to get involved. We just need to give them the structure to do so.
Right.
So
you mentioned the gala.
Yes.
It's been an annual event, and of course the pandemic slowed it down a little bit. Tell us about the gala, which is coming up on October, whatever it was.
October 20th, yes.
Okay.
So we are currently soliciting sponsorship and gifts, so we can do the silent auction and the raffle portion of it. It will be Raising the Roof with Song this time around.
Raising the Roof is the
Yes.
traditional name of the gala, right?
Yes, and then the addition to the last couple words, it's with song. A couple years ago it was with laughter. There was a comedian.
Right.
And this year we have the Southern Tearsmen Chorus, which is an a cappella group that will be singing, and we're very excited to bring them on. I think it'll be a fun event. It's at the same location as it is every year, at the Binghamton Holiday Inn.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So that's coming up as a wonderful fundraiser. And the other funding, you mentioned some grants and so on. This must take a tremendous amount of work we're building homes here, and house building these days, construction costs are way up.
Mm-hmm.
So the funding comes from grants. It comes from church contributions, I would imagine.
Yes.
Individual contributions.
Yes, we have some employee giving programs that certain corporations have signed up for, where just maybe $5 out of a paycheck will be allocated to us, and there's a benefit. There's a tax write-off at the end for whoever might help us. We have historically gotten money from foundations like the Community Foundation and the Hoyt Foundation. The AHC grant is the Affordable Housing Corporation grant. That is something that we received from New York State Habitat. Mm-hmm. That went into our two homes that we are currently selling, which is 4 Linda Drive in the Johnson City School District, Town of Dickinson, and 7 Burlington Street, which is in the city of Binghamton on the south side. We got around $35,000 for each house, but it is important to note that we are still selling the houses at a deficit.
Right.
Just with the amount that we can charge and how much construction material has increased. If we didn't have our volunteer core crew, the mission wouldn't be possible. Yeah. So
the core crew they meet pretty regularly, I think, for coffee and donuts.
Wonderful.
And so they build up a real fellowship there of men and women who, the core crew have worked on house after house after house. And so if someone's looking not just to give their time and energy to building a house, but you're looking for some people to be with who have a lot in common with you, again, you go to the website, broomehabitat.org, and you can join in with the local work. Very quickly, not only building homes, but these days, because of the cost of construction and building a house from the ground up, rehab is important too. There are substandard homes that can be brought up to standard to make them more comfortable and safe. So is rehab a part of the local Habitat chapter?
Absolutely. I think it's been normal for us to build brand new, but coming on, I do see the benefits of acquiring, whether that's through foreclosure or donation, older homes that can be rehabilitated, that maybe their foundation is in good shape and they don't necessarily have any environmental concerns. We wouldn't want to inherit a house with environmental issues, but if we are actually currently in the process of acquiring a house in Endicott, which I won't reveal the address yet, but it's in great shape. And as I mentioned, it was acquired by a local bank, through the foreclosure process, and one of our local municipalities sent it our way. And our wonderful construction manager, Jim Weidman, checked it out, and he looked at all the considerations and said, this is a great home. We can probably put just a minimal amount of effort in, not minimal, but compared to a new build, it seems like it would be minimal, but fix it up a bit, and then we can turn it around and sell it. And I think that with the housing stock that we have here, the older homes and the vacancy rates in some neighborhoods, I think if we could just target a neighborhood or a certain area, and potentially get some additional grant funds from whatever local municipality that might be within, I think that is a direction that we would like to go.
Right. Well, Habitat for Humanity internationally or nationally has been one of the most trusted and reliable nonprofits. People have heard about it for years thanks to Jimmy Carter and other volunteers. The celebrities have worked on homes. There are some communities that are so large that they build 5 and 6 homes at a time.
Yes.
What do they call those? Not group builds, something builds, where almost half a neighborhood goes up because of all the commitments. Our guest today has been Mari Giurastante, and Mari has been in this position for 6 months. So we welcome her to, not to the community, she's a lifelong resident of Broome County, but we welcome her to her new work at Habitat for Humanity based in Endicott. Again, broomehabitat.org is where the website will take you not only to the local work here, but there'll be links to ways that you can volunteer, that you can contribute, that you can get involved with Habitat for Humanity. And you'll also find links to the national organization based in Georgia, to find out about its long-standing work as one of the largest home builders in the United States, I should add, and one of the largest around the world. Thank you again, Mari.
Thank you, Jeff.
The Encounter program is produced by the Broome County Council of Churches, and we appreciate the studio here at WBNG TV and all those who help put the program together. And we also appreciate the Town Square media stations for carrying the audio portion of our program. WNBF carries it at 6:30 on Sunday morning, and WBNG at 5:30 on Sunday morning. I'm Jeff Kellam, hoping that in the coming week you will be gentle with people and with yourself.